Just grind your gears.
Takes it and runs with it. Brother.
So not okay with everything I just witnessed your face do. You
I'm
just
here.
had a stroke on half your face. Like, that was gross.
Why are we on video?
I can't wait to zoom in on that moment.
I'm
and
sweating.
just see you just like, oh,
I'm sweating. Welcome to the watering hole with visuals.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Cheers, my man.
Don't spill my fucking laptop.
There we go.
I think that was really loud.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Good to see
Good to see you.
my eyeballs.
I see
seeing you.
That's Avatar. I see you.
If I had longer hair, maybe we could. Oh wait, no, that's the way they fuck.
That's how. Yeah, you just said you want to fuck me.
Oh!
Anyway,
As you touch your hair.
I'm flattered.
That's so sweet. How you? I'm looking at the sound. The sound shit on this
Is it
right
going
now.
crazy?
Oh, it's fucking nuts with how loud we're being.
Yeah, when we were doing the practice, we didn't plan on being this loud.
That's why it's important that we plan on being as loud as possible. But regardless, my man,
We're here.
how are you doing?
I am doing good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to be back doing the visuals, getting back to a little bit of normalcy. We can actually share a drink in person. It's important
I know,
to be
right?
in person when you share your drinks, to clink, clink.
It really like, I mean, we did pretty damn well for being 3,000 miles away. I think as I was editing, I didn't notice anything too different, too weird.
We did our best. You know what happened, though? I did get comfortable with the whole they can't see me. I got comfortable with the whole you could just edit anything that happens. Now we got to actually be a little what is it?
I guess a little bit better, yeah, because we can't have the video jumping around like crazy, can we?
No, we can't. We're on now.
But,
Something about this
well,
video
there
seems
will
off.
still be the audio-only version that I also edit, which I can.
On Spotify.
Which I can. Just
Edit the shit out of it.
steamroll
Just
it.
get through all the cut the
I'm
fat,
talking
trim
like,
the fat.
Yeah, like a baker trimming some dough.
Well, Rusty.
See,
Well,
in the
Rusty.
visuals, you can see, or at least Freddie could, me searching for the analogy in my eye.
I truly thought you were gonna say like a baker trimming the fat, and I was gonna be like, bro, what kind of bread are you having?
Well, I was thinking like when like you get this like dough, and then inevitably when you're making something like cookies, right? If you're slapping down the old like pre-cut cookie things, there's the leftover after the pre-cut cookie.
Bro,
we're just gonna continue on.
We're moving on. How you doing?
Get the fuck out, man.
This camera's throwing you off, man. It's throwing you off.
We've been in person.
The cookie dough. It's cookies, and you put them on, and you trim the fat.
I miss not having visuals.
Oh man. Well,
Woo!
my man is back in L.A.
Feels good.
Yes.
Feels good to be breathing that smog-ridden air. We were so everything that's a gym out here is still outdoor only. And one of the gyms that Freddie and I go to, it's right next to his house, is in one of the larger shopping malls in the area. So there's no outdoor space, really. But Freddie tells me that they opened up for an outdoor area. And I'm thinking, okay, interesting. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they just put down a patch of grass. Whatever. I don't know what's going on. So I go, this shit is in a goddamn parking garage. They fenced off a whole section of the parking garage. And I'm thinking I'm in like a fucking inner city gym out here. It's fucking highway.
Prison style.
It's
Just
prison
cement.
style.
Just doing burpees,
There's
scraping up the knees, just right on the concrete.
There's like cars flying by on the highway, and you're like, what
It
a
is strange.
view.
You're literally doing some lateral raises, and there's just highway noise.
I'm thinking like, what if some like angry motherfucker just comes rolling through here with a car, just wiping out everybody?
It's a different experience.
I was like,
It's
this
a different experience.
It's quite the wake up call from being in Maine, where it's 10 degrees and there's a blanket of snow on the ground, and there ain't no outdoor shit. And if you put it in a garage, ain't nobody working out there.
Dude, but here's the deal. I'm impressed with how adaptive people have been. Like the how quickly some restaurants decided to move stuff outside,
Right.
and almost all gyms, it seems, are finding some way to open up outdoors to some extent. This isn't the first one I've seen open up in a garage. I've seen people open up in parking lots.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to make it happen.
It's funny to me because actually that innovation has gone like too far at times, to the point that I saw somebody, one of the restaurants in Maine, because it's wintertime. So in Maine, if you're trying to do outdoor dining, how the fuck do you do that? You can put heat lamps out, sure, but you get a big snowstorm, then you got to shovel it. It's just a mess, right?
Yeah.
So one of them built like a big ass shed, basically, out next to their, like, a little walkway that goes to their restaurant. And then everyone's pointing out, like, hold on a second. Isn't this just indoor dining?
Outdoors. It's
just indoor dining.
Just indoors, outdoors.
It's just an indoor shed with like a little bit more air pockets.
But it's outdoors. Yeah.
We've come,
all the doors are open.
All the doors are open. Full circle.
Yeah. If we open this door right here, it's outdoor dining. It's outdoor dining. There's that fresh air. There's that fresh smog that we're getting.
It's so funny because I was like, yeah, like we did. It was innovative, and now we're going in a fucking circle here.
I went to one place. It was a great brunch place. Good food, good drinks. But like we were in the parking lot, and for a second you could forget a little bit. And they had like some green turf down and like a little thing over top.
You were
canopy.
fooled by the green
and
turf.
You're just like, oh, good. And you're just scanning. You're like, oh, this is kind of. And you're like, why is there a dumpster 10 feet from me? Like why is there? That's a garbage truck.
They're just beeping the hell out. Like you're like having a nice little romantic brunch with your woman, and it's just beep, beep.
Exactly.
Beep,
I was like,
beep.
this is killing my vibe a little bit. This is not working for me.
This is you know what? We'll take it though, right? We'll take it rather than being quarantined inside all day and not being able to have access to this shit.
It.
I remember I took a picture outside your house on my Instagram.
I was so curious about the picture. You were like, "We back," and I was like, "Why you got a picture of the dumpster? Why you?"
Well, what's so funny to me is because, like, I see the palm tree first in real life, and I'm like, I see the blue sky, and I go, "Well, here we go. This is some California stuff. Let me just take a picture of it." Right?
You gaze down.
One of my friends on social media, he replies to the story. He goes, "This is the most LA picture I've ever seen," and I was looking at it again, and I was like, you're right, because what you see is a palm tree, blue skies, a shit ton of asphalt, a Prius, and a dumpster. And I'm like, all of that.
That's LA.
That's LA in a nutshell.
That
is LA in a nutshell.
My patio, which has all of the flowers and there's pops of color because I'm a flower daddy. So I got a whole little thing that says the patio, sit and relax. Like it's great. You look out there.
In case you didn't know what you needed to do.
When you're on the patio, you only got two things. You got to sit. You got to relax. That's what happens at the
Don't
be
coming
here
if you ain't doing either of those things.
You got to do it. And so you look over and like you can take this glorious picture and it just looks so beautiful and serene, and you do see the palm trees, but then if you stand up, it's like all ruined because then it's just a dumpster.
It's just dumpster. It's a bunch of cars. It's a bunch of just a bunch of bullshit.
California is beautiful if you just have selective vision.
Honestly,
you got to really have selective vision. And if you do, it's gorgeous.
I mean, so if you're walking on the sidewalk and you're looking up at the blue sky and you're ignoring the homeless man that's right next to you, you're like, this is a great place.
This is great. Wonderful. The rolling hills of California. Oh, it's beautiful.
There's like a mugging going on. You're just like, this is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, Compton is not even dangerous if you just look up.
Well, actually,
you have your muffs on.
Well, if I walk in Compton and I'm looking up and I have my muffs on, it might.
The auditor's here.
I might be more. They're like, oh, this is an easy target.
If I'm with you and we're rolling through Compton and they pick you out and they're like, oh, easy target. I'm like, get them, boys.
I'm sorry, it was for the culture.
Who's gonna keep the podcast going?
You're the white lamb. You're the white lamb. You're sacrificial.
I appreciate everything you did for me.
It's funny though because actually, like Compton and Inglewood and those places, they're not like what they were in the 90s. Like even they are getting like gentrified, and now Inglewood now has the home of the new football stadium for the Chargers, the SoFi Stadium, and they're going to be opening up the Forum again, which is where the Lakers used to play, but now the Clippers are going to play there. So like Inglewood's now, like if you've driven through it recently, it's like insanely nice because it's all gentrified bullshit and everything. And I'm like, that alone feels like LA. We're gonna take one of the most crime-ridden areas where notorious rap songs of the 90s and 2000s took place, and we're going to make it one of the nicest places now, and just leave everything else for shit.
That's how it works. I didn't know what gentrification meant for the longest time. What was that?
We're in the video, buddy. I can't cut that out.
That's in. That's in there. That scared the shit out of me. Oh, that was a coming to Jesus. That was a strange moment. I felt my lungs collapse.
You went, I didn't know what gentrification was for a long time. And the ghost of gentrification.
It hit. I didn't know what it was for the longest time, and I was trying to figure out if it's actually a bad thing, if it's a good thing, and then it's weird because it's like you want it from what. Ooh, what is happening?
This is in the video. I can't get that out.
What is happening here? Okay, now for the record, we had old fashions before the podcast.
Hey, don't be making that as an excuse, because we had one, and I'm not gonna let that be an excuse for you.
Hey, wait a minute!
I'm not letting that be an excuse for you.
I didn't drink for 2 weeks. I'm weakened. Okay, but it was like it's weird because like you think about it, making an area better, and it's like how are we gonna make it better? And I understand the gentrification. It's like you put an area in that's really nice, but then you increase the prices of it, so the people who are currently there can't afford it, and so you're kind of just pushing the poverty out and replacing it with people who can afford it, which is, I believe that's what gentrification is, and I understand how that's a negative concept, but it's like also what happens is like the other way around is having a lot of faith in people and hoping that they, if you increase like education in areas, I don't want to dive too deep into it and get serious, but
yeah.
You increase the education areas, and you hope that those people with that increased education could do more for their community, and they stay in that community rather than getting out of the area. And it's so hard to make that happen.
I think there's always a mixed bag with gentrification, right? Because it's like you are on some level in a lot of communities ripping out the heart of the community at times because you're putting in very bland but expensive buildings that are all cookie cutter and look the same. You're putting in, you're getting rid of like community centers and places that were gathering holes for people, and then you're putting in a nice park or something, right? And you're kicking out members of the community. And in that sense, gentrification is terrible. And if I was a lower income person, but we are in a community that might have crime, but if you know the people in the community, you're okay. It's like one of those situations where it's like you know everybody, you know what not to do, where not to go, and whatever. And you're like, outside of that, it's fine. But to an outsider, they just see this crime-ridden community, and they come in here and sweep it up according to them. And if you were someone in that community, you would be like, what the fuck are you doing? You're destroying my life, my friends, everything like that. So there's a mixed bag because Portland, Maine is going through a huge gentrification process right now. And on the outside, you have amazing restaurants, great apartments. But a lot of my friends no longer can afford to live in Portland, right? So everyone from Boston, and New York are moving into Portland. So now they're turning Portland, ideally, into Boston and New York. The businesses they're opening, all this stuff is very similar to those things. So You are losing a lot of the heart of what made that community special in the first place. But I've also seen how gentrification can help other communities on the outside. So my friends and business owners and stuff that can't afford to live in Portland moved to the city over, which is Westbrook, which was predominantly a pretty terrible place to be. But now they're getting some really nice restaurants and stuff. They just can't afford to live in Portland. So then they bring their good business or these people over to Westbrook. So now Westbrook's on the come up. So I have seen gentrification at times affect positively the communities around it too. So I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't either. And honestly, I don't even know if I really understand it fully. I hope we're talking about it, I think, correctly. But I haven't spent too much time diving into it.
It's one of those things that's entirely based off of your perspective.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like you could see a movie, and depending on the characters and the situations of those characters, the moment gentrification happens, it's the big evil in the film. Oh, yeah. It's the we have to fight against it, and the people need to rise up and stop this shit. Or you could be like watching a movie, And the gentrification is like, look at this, the community's all cleaned up. Like it's on
the rise.
And it's like, and it's like people like dancing and having a good time. And it's one of those things where it really is entirely based off of your perspective and your life experience.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to go into a community and just trim the dough. You know, you gotta just put it out there.
It's also this is a pretty racial thing to say, but it's terrible for me to be talking about gentrification as like a white dude because I would be the villain in almost any gentrification plot.
Well, at least you know you might have a successful acting career. Like we know what roles that you can play.
It's like a Dolomite where they're filming the prison warden scene, and she's talking to the prison warden actor. And he's like, yeah, well, you know, I kind of got this niche. And he's like, every black exploitation film needs a bad guy. And he's like, so I've been the Mississippi rapist. And he's like, and I've been, you know, he was saying these terrible things. Like, yeah, so I've been like the Mississippi rapist. I've been the head of the Ku Klux Klan. And I've been like, and now he's like the racist prison warden.
He's just like, I'm riding the wave.
And he's like enjoying it because he's getting a career. And he's like a really nice guy, and she's just like, "Oh, so you just found what you were good at."
And I'm not racist. My grocery store has at least 2 black people who work for it. I'm good to go.
I just love it. It's like it's so true though. All these like, you know, like black exploitation films and stuff. They do need a white guy, bad guy, and so I guess there are people who make a living.
Do you think?
Look at Walter Goggins. I mean, I know he has a sitcom now, but
is that
from Fat Man when he played the assassin dude. He always plays like an asshole. He always plays like a really scummy dude.
Okay. You're an actor. You get approached. Okay. Everything looks great about this thing as far as your career. The director's great. The people you work with are great. All of it's good. Do you think you could deep dive into just the worst kinds of characters? So like in my acting class in Colorado, I was asked the question of like, what could I not play? What's too far?
Right.
What roles would I not accept? One of mine would be like, it would be difficult for me, depending on what the scenes in specific they want and how explicit they want things. I know I can't play a rapist. Just couldn't do it. That was one of my big things where I can.
Yeah, I don't think like in my real life experience, I don't think I've actually every time I'm self-submitting for something, anytime I see that something that has to deal with like being like you're submitting for the rapist and stuff, I've never applied to it once.
Do you think that if you were approached, do you think that? Because I'm not. I want to make it clear that I'm not shitting on anyone who takes those roles.
Sure.
Those are stories being told. A lot of times, those stories are important to be told.
Sure.
And so the person playing them, I don't think less of them. I just know that I couldn't cross those certain lines. And so do you think that's something that would be a problem for you? Do you think with enough...
It depends on the story that it's being told, right? It's similar to what we were talking about with when we were studying with Steven, and he would mention, because Steven's technique, as he's labeled it, is the ethical art technique. And so one of the steps about it is, are you even going to take on the role? Because... you have to look at it from an ethical standpoint. Is this something that I want to put out there? Because, you know, in Hollywood and LA, film is a commodity. Film is a way to make money. But for the people making those films, it's an art form. You know, it is an art. So you have to be aware about the ethics and what your art is promoting. And so I think it all depends on the story. You know, yeah. I mean, you have Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained, but you have Jonah Hill being a Ku Klux Klan member, right? If you just go to Jonah Hill, hey, you want to play a Ku Klux Klan member? He's probably going to say no. But when you put it in the context of what the script calls for and the like how it's handled and all these things like that, he goes, okay, yeah, I'll be a part of this.
Goddamn bags.
I'll be a part of all of this, right?
Yeah.
And so it really is boiling down to, because you can look at, Schindler's List, where Ralph Fiennes played a Nazi, right? But it's what is the story trying to say about the regrets and like what that character is going through and what's the overall message of the piece versus just doing a piece where it's just Nazis are the good guys, right? Yeah. Like it's so different depending on what you're trying to tell. So,
yeah, that's fair.
So I think like one of the more interesting things when we look at rapist is, have you seen Promising Young Woman this year? So that was one of the films I got to see when I was in Maine, which was
in a
awesome.
theater?
In a theater.
Ooh,
it's probably one of my favorite films this year. It's very uncomfortable to watch.
Is Promising Young Woman the one with the girl and Bo Burnham?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I actually meant to watch that.
It's great. It's absolutely great, but it really deals with, sexual abuse and like these aspects of it. But it does it in a way that's a little tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time is very grounded in reality and very grounded in like, yeah, this is how this shit goes down. Usually it's not some guy in a dark alley that's just out prowling for these women. It's like these weird scenarios at times where things just happen, right? And people make stupid mistakes and they do all this stupid shit. But how do the consequences of those actions then carry on? And how do people take responsibility for those actions or don't take responsibility for those actions? And it's kind of tongue-in-cheek in its tone, but it's very realistic in how it tells these stories. And so you have the casting choices for these men are very likable people. Like, it's been a while since you've probably seen the trailer, but some of them pop up in the trailer. The casting intentionally took people that we have always thought of as really good guys or really harmless guys or all these things, and they are technically rapists in this movie. And so it kind of intentionally is already telling us a little bit about, it's not always the creepy guy in the corner or anything like that. It's just these average people. And so in the sense, all of these actors took up on this role where they're not viewed in a great light usually, but it's because of what the message and what the story is trying to tell us was powerful enough that they go, I can be a part of this story. And even if I have to be a negative part of that story, I'm playing a vital role in making sure that this is being told.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends on the project.
I got a weird train of thought for you. Okay. You ready?
Yep.
Buckle up. So I'm going to start with, you've seen Hunger Games?
Yeah.
Was it Pan Am? Is that it? Is that right?
Pan Am?
What is it called? Pandora? Pan Am?
Now you're going back to Avatar. I think that.
Which one is it? Pan Am?
I don't remember.
Are you talking about the folks?
Are you talking about
the capital?
Sure,
is it
sure.
the capital?
Yeah.
God,
bro, it's been forever.
I'm sounding like I just don't know anything about Hunger Games.
It's been forever. I read the first book, saw the first movie, and then stopped watching.
The real crazy folk, I think at the Capitol, I think it's called Pan Am.
Sure.
Excuse me if I'm wrong here, but the people who were just so, like, they don't even realize how bad the Hunger Games are, those kind of people, right? Mm-hmm. That's the start, right? You have those, and then you wonder, when you watch those movies and you see how kind of goofy they are, how not grounded in reality they are, and like you have the opposite, Katniss going through all these horrible things and what they, all these different districts have to go through, and you wonder, how can these people just live their lives in bliss? And you look at certain things, like I just watched Snowpiercer, which was an interesting film. And you had the people in the front of the train, people in the back of the train. And the people in the front of the train are very similar to those in Hunger Games.
1%.
Very just, the 1%, the uppity, and they're so removed from the reality of how awful life is for others that you're just like, wow, you guys are so clueless. And naturally they become the bad guys just based on their blissful ignorance.
Based just like the gentrification on the perception of the character's story being told. Because if you were telling the story from their perspective, you might find someone who's not, what I mean? It really is interesting.
In these specific things, I watch it and I go, how? How can these people be okay with it? How can these people suggest that the Hunger Games are good and they're watching the Hunger Games and they're cheering it on? And so you're meant to be repulsed by it, right? So that's the setup for that portion. I have this thing where, and again, I don't want to spend too much time on the topic itself, but I know one of the things, the only time actually that I've ever walked out of a movie was during The Hills Have Eyes, and it was during a rape scene. It's just something I can't handle. I just can't do it. Right. My big thing is I'm naturally a protector. I value myself in the way that the people who I really think that I would try to protect someone to the best of my abilities in almost all circumstances, particularly those who I love and care for. But really anyone who needs it, I really feel like that's my calling, is to be somewhat of a protector. It's my natural instinct. And so I just can't handle it in movies. If it's implied, I can do it. If they're going to have an actual scene, I will skip it. I will leave the theater. I will come back when it's over. It's just something I know I cannot do. I was watching Wind River the other day.
Don't talk to me. Remember you said that you're not. in the last podcast where he mentioned it, he said,
You haven't seen it?
No. And you're like, the scene that happens, you'll know. And you're like, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay,
so
okay.
Don't spoil that.
Okay, we don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it.
Show, you know. But anyway, that's kind of how I do, right?
It's similar to, did you ever see Law Abiding Citizen with Gerard Butler and Jamie Foxx?
Yes.
And like the opening scene, someone was talking about it on Quora, where it was one of the most uncomfortable scenes of a good movie.
Even when it's implied, it messes with me for a long time. And so that's why I can't do it. Even if it's a good movie with a good message and it ends well, if it includes that, it fucks with me for a while. It takes a few days for me to like wash that out of my system, right? So now let me connect the two thoughts, okay? I had this weird thought one time when that happened and I skipped it. And then I said, I'm skipping it because it's too much for me to handle. I can't accept that is a reality that actually happens. I can't imagine that someone would do that to another human. I can't imagine that that's a thing that can go without justice, that can go unsolved, or like I just can't fathom it. And so I remove myself entirely because I just can't think about it. And then I said, how much of that ignorance and that removing myself because it's just too much would it take for me to end up in a situation in which I'm one of the ignorant Pan Am, assuming that's the name of the people, or the first Carters and Snowpiercer? Like, is it possible that they know something so horrible, but they just ignore it because it's too much? And then as soon as I had that thought, I was like, "Fuck, am I a part of the problem? Like, am I supposed to? Like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to be Batman? Am I supposed to like go out? Like, it just became this whole big thing of where I was like thinking way too much about it, and I was just like, what is my role? Am I supposed to feel that disgust and then do whatever I can to make sure the world has less of that in it? What can I do? I was all over the fucking place, just all kind of weirded out with these emotions.
Really resonated with you.
And I'm like, why am I thinking about Hunger Games in this in the same? And I'm like, I could be them if I just ignore this thing too.
I think that's important though. I think again that's what we talk about. I say it all the time, so I'm going to keep saying it. That filmmaking and films and acting is the art of empathy. And what it kind of gave you in some sense was empathy for those people that are so far removed from reality. Because if you didn't see those movies or you didn't see that stuff, you wouldn't have had that thought, really. You wouldn't have thought, like, how can I connect with that?
I don't like you saying I empathize with the people in the first car of the train.
But you should, because they're human beings, and that's important. And I really do think that, because we're seeing that right now. We talk about it all the time in LA. The class distinction and the disparity between wealth in Los Angeles. And legitimately, LA is a huge, sprawling city. And within that city are so many minor little sections of it that would constitute, in a sense, as their own cities if they were anywhere else but LA. And so you do have really fucking poor places. And then you have Beverly Hills. And I really do think that it is a sense of people who have wealth. The reason why Beverly Hills has become what it is because people who have wealth, they don't want to be, it's too uncomfortable to be living in the worst areas of Los Angeles. So they try to hide away with people that are of their same values and ability to spend and like all of the stuff that they bond with. But inevitably they do cut themselves off and distance themselves from the reality of the situation, which is in LA, a lot of fucking people are dying and starving on a daily basis. And with coronavirus, it's on a whole nother level.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at, one of my favorite quotes is all evil needs to succeed is for good men to stand by and do nothing, and then that hit me hard from a very early point. When I heard that, I was like, that makes sense to me. And then you look at like Nazi Germany and look at what happened there. And a lot of what happened is like people who wouldn't themselves necessarily condemn the Jewish community and think less of them just accepted that this is how it was. Like, sure. And it's like, but like,
I think those are a little bit more extremes.
Yeah, we're talking about some real extremes
when it
here.
goes, I'm just talking about necessarily just almost blissful ignorance in a sense, where it is that you can afford to avoid. Look at me right now with me and Katie, and we do have this great apartment with a kitchen full of appliances, and I am constantly checking the fact that like this is not a stereotypical mid-20s fucking existence in Los Angeles. This is not the space and the time, and like we have these gadgets and we have these mics. Like people don't always get to have this opportunity that even you and I have, and we're not even super wealthy, right? But I'm not gonna because other people are suffering be like, no, I'm gonna get rid of this KitchenAid appliance. I'm gonna get rid of these things. I'm gonna just try to live my life and do what I can, and that's not necessarily a good man doing nothing. These are it's just how life is. And there's a great quote that I wanted to bring up. I had to double check it here because I just saw it, and it's about Paul Newman, right? One of the great fucking film actors back in the day, one of the best movie stars in the world, does Newman's own products and everything, where 100% of the proceeds from that, anything that's after their break-even point, goes to charity. 100% of it. So, Newman's own pastas, salsas, all that shit. And then he created a camp called the Hole in the Wall Gang that's still going on to this day, which is giving people who have, like children who have chronic diseases or life-ending diseases, like certain cancers and stuff, and they're bedridden for the rest of their lives until they die. He built this camp that's an outdoor camp, and based off his Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid film, which are cowboy films, it's kind of like Old West at times, and all the machinery and stuff's kind of hidden in the wall, so it's not like in their faces and everything, and they get to do all these outdoor things and all this great stuff, and he actually has them wearing cowboy hats because that way you can't tell that their hair is like, it's like little things that he really gives a shit about with kids, and they're really sweet moments. And someone asked him about why do you do this stuff? And he said, I wanted, I think, to acknowledge luck, the chance of it, the benevolence of it in my life, and the brutality of it in lives of others. And I think, and he said, made especially savage for children because they may not be allowed the good fortune of a lifetime to correct it. Mm. And I think that's a wonderful quote. The benevolence of it in my life and the brutality of it in others. And I think that's very true, because we look at these actors like Paul Newman, Matthew McConaughey, where we were talking about how all these things just fell into place. Very attractive people. So from a genetic standpoint, very fucking lucky from that standpoint. And then for certain areas of their career to take off and all these things. Obviously they worked hard. Obviously they've earned a lot of what they got. But you can't not admit that they didn't get lucky along the way. And then there are kids who are 7 years old who do have cancer, and that's all that, and they're not going to make it to their 10th birthday. And so I think what we're looking at here, when we go back to the original conversation, is people like Paul Newman acknowledge the fact that they were in these communities, they were in the front of the rail car and all this stuff, and they're like, wait. This isn't because like I just worked harder than everybody else in the other cars. Like on some level, it was luck as well. And I think that's at best, if you are one of those fortunate few who are lucky, that's as best as you can really do.
Yeah. I think one of the only reasons to stand above someone is to help pull them up. Right. It's the only thing that makes sense. It
doesn't mean that you have to get rid of your shit to go down to their level because other people are suffering. I don't think that's, and I think sometimes people want that to be the case, but I don't think that needs to be the case. I just think you need to be able to acknowledge the position that you are in and then make steps to maybe make it a little easier for someone else to get to where you are.
Yeah, so ultimately I'm saying Hunger Games sucks. I do like Hunger Games.
I do want to see you in in the movies with Elizabeth Banks and her crazy ass wig and shit. I do want to see you with stuff like that. I hope
it's Pan Am.
I don't know what it is, because you're making it sound like a fucking flight from the fucking 60s. Pan Am.
Pan Am, is that a flight from the 60s?
Pan Am is the airline company like Delta and them.
Had no idea.
When Pan America?
Had no idea. Never heard of it.
You might just be giving a good old advertisement for
Pan Am. Pan Am? It's Pan Am. It's Pan Am.
I mean, I'm the one with the laptop.
It's the capital.
I can look it up.
It's the capital. I think it's the capital.
How many times are you gonna say
Hunger
capital?
Games. It's the first car in the train of the capital. You get what I'm saying?
Oh man.
We on the same.
We're on the same page.
You missed me,
baby.
right?
Yeah, I missed this. I missed the fact that I can't just shut this shit off in a moment's notice.
Oh man.
Shit. Let me look this up though, real quick. So, Hunger Games, capital, name. No.
Please be. What
capital of Pan Am.
It's Pan Am
or Panem. P-A-N-E-M.
Don't you take this away from me. Pan Am. Oh yeah.
You feel so good about it.
The thing
yourself.
is, like, here I am thinking if anyone was watching and they were a fan, I just like stuck it to them.
Right.
But then, like, if they were a fan, they were like, "Yeah, you're right."
Yeah.
And I kept repeating.
The capital.
Kept doubting
the
myself.
capital.
I'm like, "You're right.
The capital.
You're right. Stop.
Storm the Capitol.
Storm the Capitol. Pan Am. So anyway,
my man. Well, I mean, that was a good conversation, but I think that's actually about where I want to kind of end this one.
that would make sense.
We're getting pretty up there in time. It's crazy when you talk about the things you give a shit about.
Oh, just grind your gears.
Takes it and runs with it, brother.
I'm so not okay with everything I just witnessed your face do.
My internal clock is so fucked up. It's so late for me because I'm coming from the East Coast.
You just had a stroke on half your face. Like, that was gross.
Why are we on video?
I can't wait to zoom in on that moment.
I'm
and
sweating.
Just see you just like, oh,
I'm sweating,
brother. You're glistening. You're perspiring. You look like you rub baby oil all over your face.
I just want to acknowledge luck.
The benevolence in my life. and the brutality in yours.
I feel like we're gonna turn a Paul Newman quote, a great new quote, into an insult.
We just brought it down.
You just go into you say that to somebody's face. The benevolence of it in my life, the brutality of that would make somebody.
It is what it is.
That would make somebody feel like such a piece of shit if someone says that to them. Oh God!
Yeah, I just want to point out, look, the benevolence in my life, and just
some homeless man
what it did
ask
to you.
Excuse me, sir, do you have $1? Well, first, I just want to point.
I'm gonna give you 5, okay? But only because I got benevolence and bruh.
And on some level, you're kind of lucky today because you ran across me.
Look, whooped your ass, and I'm here.
The
I'm
ghost
here to
of
give
Paul
you some
Newman. The
benevolence.
ghost of Paul Newman's gonna come and fucking murder me now.
Oh God.
All right. Well, hey, here's to Paul, and here's the people in positions of power and success that are trying to give back to those that are not.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We will see you next time.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. And again, now that we're back on visuals, hopefully, or I just say fuck this one with the visuals. But if you're seeing this, that means you're probably on YouTube. So give a like, subscribe if you haven't already to the channel, and if you're on Spotify, download and just keep sharing and supporting the podcast. We're gonna keep growing this thing. I'm stoked to see where we are a year from now, because of where we've come literally in 6 months, 5 months?
Yeah.
So
It's going to be great.
keep it going, baby. All right. Bye.
Peace.